head straight to the mansion.
お帰りなさいませ、四季様。
ただいま、翡翠。ごめん、ちょっと頭が痛いんだ。少しだけ休むから、夕食になったら呼びに来てくれ。
Hisui went out of her way to welcome me home, but I don't have it in me to greet her properly, and instead just head straight for my room. Are we even gonna go out tonight? I doubt it, in this condition. Only after I've returned to my room, locked the door, and sat down on the bed did my swirling emotions finally settle down. Senpai and I had a falling out over a heated argument. After that, I witnessed that gruesome scene at the abandoned factory. First, Senpai told me to cut all ties with Arcueid. Then, Noel-sensei told me that I shouldn't trust Senpai either. She claimed that Senpai was only using me as a tool to kill vampires.
なんだそれ。悩むまでもないじゃないか。先輩が俺を利用しているなら、アルクエイドとのことであんなに怒らないはずだ。
Ciel Senpai would never deceive me. She's more concerned about my own safety than she is about exterminating vampires. And yet, in spite of that, I spurned her advice and ended up hurting her with my thoughtless words.
わかってる。先輩は悪くない。悪いのは頭に血が上った俺の方だ。
I'm so pathetic. If I really wanted her to trust Arcueid, then I should have just been more patient. I should have tried harder to mediate between the two of them. I love Senpai. That love is a mix of respect, camaraderie, lust, and a whole host of other emotions. I've never wanted to make another person happy as desperately as I do right now. If I didn't have to deal with my anemia, I'd have asked her out a long time ago. That being said, I feel just as strongly about Arcueid. The emotions I feel for her are different, but now I'm mesmerized by her all the same. I can't stand to hear someone who can smile like that branded as nothing more than a vampire. That's the whole reason I ended up lashing out at Ciel Senpai in the first place.
なんだそれ。筋が通らない。
Shit, I didn't know I was this sort of person. It's perfectly clear to me that I love Senpai, so why can't I stop thinking about Arcueid? Maybe it's because I love her that I couldn't stand to hear her say those things about Arcueid. A second heavier sigh escapes my lips. The sun has already set. Only a few hours now until the time I promised to meet up with Arcueid. Still racking my brain for an answer, I laid my exhausted body on the bed and wait for Hisui to call for me. I finish eating dinner and return to my room. Ouch. Even this mild headache makes me feel like I'm about to collapse, but I take a deep breath and steady myself. I've spent too much time with my glasses off looking at the lines recently, and I've been getting a lot more headaches as a result. Even here I can feel the toll of this vampire hunt is taking me on. Senpai was right when she said I shouldn't go wandering around the city at night, but even so...
そろそろか。
It's almost time to meet up with Arcueid. The decision to keep hunting vampires or call it quits isn't mine to make alone. I'll meet up with her one more time and confirm how I really feel. If that ends up spelling the end of my partnership with Arcueid, then so be it.
そうだよな。一番良くないのは、このまま答えを出さないことだ。
Once I'm ready to head out, I switch off the lights. After double-checking my knife is in my pocket, I head off toward the park where Arcueid awaits. I wonder what emotions he's in right now. Nobody notices me as I make my way to the main gate. The road in front of the Tono estate has never attracted much traffic, and I'm basically the only pedestrian that uses it. It's particularly quiet tonight. People don't go out as much lately because of the serial killings, and most of the homes in the residential district down the hill have already turned off their lights. Even though it's only 10 o'clock, the silence is reminiscent of the dead of night. We're nearing the end of October, and there's a faint chill in the air. Autumn will also be over before long. I idly mutter to myself that it'd be nice if this all gets wrapped up before the biting cold of winter sets in. I walk along the perimeter of the estate. Down the hill from here is the residential district. When I'm on my way to school, I head southwest from there toward the shopping district. After I make my way past the shops, I end up at the north side of the station, so I cut through there to get through the South Plaza. From there, it's only another 10 minutes or so on foot. Tonight, I'm heading to the park over on the south side of town, so there's no need to pass through the shopping district. If I just head due south through the residential area, there's an underpass beneath the tracks that bisect the city. From there, it's a straight shot to the park. I've got a little under 15 minutes before 10 o'clock. Not going through the shopping district means I'll be sticking to the unlit back streets of the city, but I've got to take the shortest route tonight if I want to make it in time. As I walk, I catch a sight of a shadowy figure by the wall surrounding the estate. It's a young woman wearing a habit leaning against the wall. Surprisingly, it doesn't look like she's here to get in my way. It's more like she's just here to see me off.
呆れましたね。こんな夜更けにどこに行く気ですか?
Of course. I come to a stop. Her gaze is cold, and there's no emotion in her voice. I'd planned on looking for her at school tomorrow, but she's beaten me to the punch. Even though I'd been granted this perfect opportunity, I can't bring myself to look her in the eye. I want to apologize and make up with her as soon as possible, assuming she's willing. But before I can, there's something I have to settle once and for all. How do I feel about arcueid? I can't talk to Senpai until I've got a clear answer to that question.
先輩、俺は。
言い訳は聞きません。今こうしていること自体があなたの心情を表していますから。まったく。あれだけ言ったのに彼女のところに行くって言うんですね、遠野くんは。そんなに吸血鬼がいいんですか？はあ、もしや永遠の命とか、そんな甘い見返りを夢見ていますか？
This level of unbridled contempt is completely out of character for Senpai. The temptation of eternal life. I guess she's referring to how if I get bitten by a vampire and become a dead apostle, I might be able to achieve some sort of immortality. But at the end of the day, they're no different from humans. They die if they don't eat, and it's not like they can't be killed. I've seen enough to know that all too well by now. And besides,
そりゃ夢には見るでしょ。誰だって死にたくないし、先輩みたいに強くなりたいし。はい、そうですよ。丈夫な体になれるなら、俺、アルクエイドのものになってもいいんです。
You sure about that?
遠野くん、何言ってるんですか？そこは、そんなわけないだろ先輩。町のためにやってるんだぜって返すものでしょ？
もちろんです。で、あんな挑発をして、そういう反論を期待してたんですね、先輩。
Damn. I had a feeling that's what she was going for. Who knows what kind of flawless logical argument she'd have shut me down with if I played into her hands.
今夜だけは先輩の言うことは聞けませんから。でも、作動室でのことは反省しています。これが終わったら、話を聞いてください。
I walk past her without looking at her face. It's a pretty pathetic apology, but my top priority right now is meeting up with arcueid.
そうですか。そこまで覚悟ができているのなら、私からは何もありません。作動室の件も気にしないでください。遠野くんは間違ったことは言っていませんでしたから。
I hear Senpai's voice coming from behind me. I can't feel anything in it that suggests she's going to try and prevent me from meeting with arcueid. I see. I guess Senpai really has had enough of me at this point.
それじゃあ俺行くから。
はい。どうぞ遠野くんのお好きなようにしてください。
All I can hear is her voice. Still unable to bring myself to turn and face her, I continue to trudge away from the mansion. Click, clack, click, clack. The staccato sound of footsteps echoes through the darkened residential district. There aren't the heavy footsteps of a man. They sound lighter and more graceful. Moreover, my sneakers are incapable of producing that kind of sound. You need to be wearing shoes with a hard sole to make that noise. Maybe a pair of lace-up boots or something. Okay, forget maybe. Someone's following me, yep. The footsteps that have been following me for a while now are definitely coming from a pair of lace-up boots. I come to a sudden stop. The footsteps also shuffle to a halt. This won't do. If I just keep on walking and ignoring her, we'll arrive at the park soon. I have to take a stand right here.
ですね、先輩。
I turn around.
はい？なんでしょう、そこの健康不良少年くん。
不良でいいですけど。先輩の家ってこっちの方だったっけ？
いえ、全く違いますね。遠野くん、一度来たことあるでしょう。忘れちゃったんですか？
覚えてます。忘れません。ちょっと確認したくなっただけです。もう曲がるところは通り過ぎたなって。
はい、正解です。大した記憶力ですね。私の家への曲がり道はズバリさっき通り過ぎました。
I silently respond with a forced smile. Oh, is that so? Senpai smiles right back at me. Sure is.
それじゃあ俺はこっちだから。
はい、どうぞ遠野くんのお好きなように。
Senpai sends me off with a cheerful smile on her face. For some reason, I have an incredibly bad feeling about this. I take a deep breath.
どうしました？行かないんですか？
Senpai asks me a question. I take advantage of that brief window of inattention and begin to sprint down the unlit road. I run through the darkened city as fast as my legs will carry me, not even pausing to steal a glance over my shoulder. I don't hear any footsteps chasing after me, but I take a short detour anyway just in case. I hadn't planned on passing by the station, but Senpai wouldn't be able to tell me if I blend in with the crowd. I'll dive into the throng to make it look like I'm headed toward the school, then double back and head for the underpass. I'm totally spent. Still, now that I've made it this far, the park is right around the corner, so I can afford to take a break. Panting heavily, I give my body a chance to recover. Seems like my plan worked. I don't hear those nimble footsteps of hers. She must have gotten fed up and gone somewhere else instead.
感心できませんね、遠野くん。誰もいないからといって、むやみに走り出すのはどうかと思います。
Someone gives me a gentle tap on the shoulder from behind. Talk about a callback. But, like, instead of him chasing her, it's her chasing him. And it still ended up the same result. I leap backwards like a startled frog.
なんでついてくるんだよ、先輩。
なんでも何も、遠野くん一人じゃ不安じゃないですか。遠野くんのようななんちゃって調査とは違う、真に町の平和を守る者として当然の行為ですが、何か？
I feel like I've just been given a splendid tongue lashing. She's holding a grudge because of the dig I took at her earlier. Still, at least it's clear what's going on now. Senpai has no intention whatsoever of leaving me alone. I don't really know how best to reply, so I'll respond bluntly, respond logically. Okay. They're being very vague with the descriptions? Logically, I guess? I'll try and reason with her. I can use one of those things Ciel senpai said to my advantage.
ちょっと待って。先輩、さっき俺の好きにしていいって言ってくれましたよね。
はい、どうぞ遠野くんのお好きなようにしてください。
Senpai smiles and nods at me.
よかった。俺の幻聴ってわけじゃなかったんだな。よし。それじゃあここでお別れです。これ以上ついてきちゃダメですからね。
はあ、私、遠野くんについてきているわけではありませんけど。
いや、実際ついてきてるじゃないですか。
公園に用があるだけです。
Do you
遠野
know?
くんがどこに行くのかは知りませんけど、行き先が公園でないのならここでお別れですね。
I didn't see that coming. If that's the case, then I don't really have any right to complain. I mean, I don't, but...
ああ、もうそれでもダメです。公園にはアルクエイドがいるんですよ。あいつなんでか先輩を敵視してるし、このまま合わせるわけにはいきません。
おや、私のことを心配してくれるんですか？
心配なんかするに決まってます。俺は先輩とアルクエイドが争うところなんて見たくない。お願いですから、もうこれ以上ついてこないでください。
なるほどなるほど、そうですか。私の心配じゃなくて彼女の心配をしているんですね、遠野くんは。
Senpai seems to have purposely misinterpreted my words and has turned a deaf ear to my pleas. This isn't the first time she's done this tonight. I get the feeling that Senpai is enjoying tormenting me.
先輩、もしかして茶道室のこともさっきのことも、いやそれ以前に俺がアルクエイドと夜出歩いたこと自体ずっと怒ってたんじゃないですか。
Senpai simply smiles without saying a word. Yep, she's angry. That's the face of someone who's definitely still upset with me.
わかりました。全部俺が悪かったです。もっとちゃんと謝りたかったけど、こうなったら仕方ないです。茶道室でのことは謝ります。あれは俺の失言でした。だから
帰ってくれなんて言ったら本気で怒りますよ、遠野くん。
え？
私たち今絶好中なんです。喧嘩してるんです。私も拗ねているみたいですから、生半可なことじゃ素直になれません。
先輩、
ここで遠野くんが帰ってくれるのなら仲直りできるんですけど、それは無理だって分かってます。ですからこんな話をしていても無意味です。あなたが私に謝る必要もありません。私昼のことは気にしていませんから。私の仕事は吸血鬼を退治すること。今はそれを忠実にこなしているだけです。
先輩。
Senpai ignores me completely and sets off down the sidewalk. The direction she's headed is, of course, toward the park where Arcueid and I are supposed to meet. Oh lord, where's this headed?
待ってください。どうしてそんなにムキになってるんですか？
私ムキになんかなっていません。あなたの方こそ私と一緒にいると彼女に誤解されるんじゃないですか？
誤解って何がですか？
あなたは彼女が好きなんでしょ？なら彼女の敵である私と一緒にいるのは立場的にまずいと思いますけど。
好きって別に俺はあいつのことが好きってわけじゃ。
Try as I might, I can't bring myself to deny that I love her. For whatever reason, I'm mesmerized by Arcueid, That's the undeniable truth.
もうほんと自分自身にも嘘をつけないんですね、遠野くんは。
I mean, Aka did say to never tell a lie that you can't even believe yourself.
なんか正直すぎて参っちゃいます。
Ciel-senpai lets out a sigh comprised of equal parts exasperation and resignation. I'm not entirely sure how to interpret that sigh of hers, but at least Senpai's prickly attitude has disappeared, and she's back to being her usual self.
けど本当にここで別れた方がいいですよ。
Oh, so now you think we should part ways, huh?
私たちは絶好中なんですし、こんなところをアルクエイドに見られたら。
Yep, that cutoff already tells me everything. Yep.
見られたらどうなるのかしらね。
This is probably the first time they've talked at all. Yep. Ciel, you knew where this was going to go, right? There's no way. I turned to face the source of the voice. Oh, and there are the eyes. There stands a woman I do not recognize. Golden hair that shimmers in the moonlight. A beautiful body clad in white, upon which no impurities may tread. A denizen of the night, yet all the same a maiden akin to the brilliance of daylight. But still different from the arcueid I know.
Arcueid.
I call out Arcueid's name. The pale figure glances at me for only a moment before turning its attention to Ciel-senpai.
遠野くん、下がって。いえ、なんとか隙を見て公園の外まで逃げてください。
After I made it all the way here? What the fuck? Senpai finishes whispering to me and steps forward. If she told me to run away before all this went down, I'd have fought back and told her she's blowing things way out of proportion. But right now, it's clear that running away is the best course of action, and equally clear that I've already lost my chance to do so. The air hangs unbearably heavy over the park. Arcueid's red eyes are fearsome. I'm speaking literally when I say that everything in this park, down to every individual leaf on every single tree, has been captivated by their gaze. This feeling of suffocation is easily as bad as what I felt when facing Vlav, if not worse. My instincts are telling me that if I have to make even the slightest move, then my life is forfeit.
驚いたわ。シキの声が聞こえたから来てみれば、まさかあなたが一緒だなんてね。何をしに来たのシエル。私に用はないと思うけど。ええ、あなたに用などありません。大事ならともかく話をするなんて考えるだけでもおぞけが走りますから。私は彼があんまりにも危なっかしいので指導をしてあげているだけです。どうも頭のゆるい吸血鬼にたぶらかされているようなので。指導が必要なのはそっちの体の方なんじゃない？余分な肉ばかりついて死に際のカバのよう。それともどんなに切り崩しても重さの
They
減ら
over
ない
here
贅
having a
肉か
roast
しら。
session. I'm dead.
They leaked your news on animalplanet.com.
Jess, you look like you stunt double for the Gorilla Glue girl.
You make dildos soft.
そっくりそのまま返しますよ。起きて殺すことだけがあなたの美点でしょうに。人間に助けを求めるなんてそんな余分はらしくありません。神祖の誇りとやらをどこかに落としたのですか？まあそんなもの実際あったかどうか疑問ですけど。
That's weird. I feel like it's gotten just a tiny bit easier to breathe. Is it because the pressure that was enveloping the whole park has now been focused solely on Ciel-senpai? Actually, forget that for a second. Is it just me, or are these two surprisingly similar to each other? It's like they're on the same wavelength or something.
つくづく勘に触る女ね。一度やられたぐらいじゃ物足りないってこと？
Yeah, so I was right, wasn't I, about that whole book sequence in the last chapter talking about Ciel. Mm-hmm.
あなたこそ手も足も出ずに地に落とされた恐怖がまだ拭えていないんじゃないですか。
Oh, so I guess this wasn't a fight like as easily winnable as that was with Roa, huh? Arcueid had to struggle.
何よ、人のパートナーを横取りするつもり？ええ、状況次第では。彼が私を頼ってくれるのなら、今すぐにでも。
What do you mean, do it? This is an explosive situation if I ever saw one. The suffocating atmosphere may have receded, but I can't just keep watching from the sidelines like this. They're both adults, so I'm sure they won't start throwing punches or anything. But as the middleman, I feel it's my duty to try and defuse the situation. Shiki gonna pull up, "Stop fighting!" Jesus.
待ってくれ、二人とも。なんか空気が不穏だ。耐えられない。というか落ち着け。お互い目的は同じなんだろう。ならここは仲良く。
Shut up.
黙っててください。
You know what? So much for that. My attempt at mediating has backfired horribly. I've only added more fuel to the fire of their animosity.
真似しないでよ。式に呼びかけるのは私だけの特権なんですけど。呼びかける？今のが？せいぜい同活の間違いでしょう。鏡を見たことがないんですね。ああ、吸血鬼だから鏡に映らないんでしたっけ？どこの迷信よ。鏡にぐらいちゃんと映るわ、私。おや、そうでしたか。それは失礼。使徒ですら自分の姿を恥じて姿を映さないというのに、大した厚顔っぷりです。さすがは吸血鬼の大元、感服しました。ねえ、もしかして挑発しているの？あなた。まさかこれは挑発ではなく糾弾ですよ。自分が何であるかを理解しない愚か者に現実を教えてあげているだけです。
This is going south very quickly. The smile plastered across her face was dazzling, yet terrifying. A paralyzing numbness creeps into my fingers. The hairs all over my body stand on end. With Arcueid's sigh, the icy threat of death has settled over the park. Even in the face of that smile, Senpai refuses to back down.
いいわ。私からも最初で最後の勧告よ。シキはあなたのことがそれなりに大事らしいから、今回だけは見逃してあげる。また殺される前に、今すぐここから消え去りなさい。驚きましたね。吸血鬼が人間の機嫌を伺うなんて。あなたなら人間なんて思い通りに操れる。彼に協力させるならしもべにしてしまえばいいのに、なぜ魅了しないのですか、アルクエイド。あなたらしい品位に欠けた発想ね。シキは私のパートナーよ。そんなことをしなくても私の手助けをしてくれるって言ってくれた。
That was only after you forced me into doing so after you used your eyes, but, you know, c'est la vie.
私を殺せる時でも私のそばにいてくれた。私が一人でいる時もシキに会えると思うだけで時間は瞬く間に過ぎていった。当然でしょ。だってシキは私の運命の人なんだから。
Wait, I'm her what? What's that supposed to mean? I can feel the sting of Senpai's silent reproach. It's clear from the look in her eyes that she demands an explanation. I'd love one too, to be perfectly honest. I really don't have any idea what she's talking about.
ふざけてるんですか、あなたは。何を言い出すかと思えば、よりにもよってオムファタルなんて。ふざけてなんかいないわ。シキの心も体も、彼がこれから得る喜びも悲しみも死に伏せる権利さえ私のもの。 ええ、使徒の気持ちが少しだけ理解できたわ。人間の血を飲みたいとは思わないけど、シキの命は私以外の誰にも渡さない。
ちょっと待て。
I see where you're getting at now. The words that make it out of my mouth are little more than a whisper. I don't know what kind of history they have with each other, and with the two of them at each other's throats like this, it's clear the situation is well and truly out of my hands. Despite that, I can't let those words she just spoke slide. She can understand how dead apostles feel? There's no way she thinks that. We may have only known each other for a short while, but I can guarantee that she doesn't. Because if she did, it'd be like affirming she's a vampire.
アルクエド、あなたまさか。さあ、どうかしら。あなたから私はどう見えるの、シエル。吸血衝動に飲み込まれて打点したように見える？いいえ、神祖が落ちたのならとっくに世界は裏返っています。あなたはまだ狂っても落ちてもいない。つまり今の段階ならまだ間に合うということです。
So we are fighting?
その通りよ、シエル。これは吸血衝動とは違う。だって楽しいわ。すごく胸が弾んでいるの。まるで春の野原のよう。以前あなたは私を愚かだと言ったわね。ロアに騙された世間知らずだって。本当にそう。シキに殺されるまでの私は本当に愚かだった。自由になることが、自由に手足を動かせることが、自由に人間を好きになることがこんなにも気持ちいいなんて知らなかった。だから今の私はあなた以上に人間的よ。例えばこんな風に自分の気持ちを表現できる。
Arcueid sinks her teeth into her own index finger, as though daintily nibbling a strawberry. A red trickle spills from her white finger. The tiniest drop of blood slowly dribbles down and falls to the stone pavement. Plop. That single drop splashes audibly against the ground. The instant it does, it transforms into a reflective pool that coats the whole plaza. Is that an illusion? No, the entire park really has been inundated with her blood. The fact that I'm up to my ankles in it is proof enough of that.
安心して、一滴だけだから。これから楽しい時間になるのに、ここは色が薄すぎて。せめてこれぐらいはしないと趣がないでしょ。
She's giving off an incredibly intimidating aura, but I don't sense any malice in her words. Arcueid hasn't changed. This idiotically innocent woman is the same cheerful ray of sunshine I know. But something isn't right. What should have been nothing more than a trifling mistake has instead transformed into a different being entirely.
自由に思うままに行動するというのですね。あなたが何の制約もなく思うままにロアを処罰すると、その結果がどうなるか理解していますか？自らを縛らない神祖は使徒と変わらない。グローブのようにこの町を蹂躙するのが望みだとでも。分かりきったことを聞かないでシエル。人間の町に関心はないの？邪魔をしな
Dang,
け
she's
れば
even saying it herself now.
こんなの
Not hiding it anymore.
ああ、でもそっか。好きになるのも自由なら憎んでみるのも自由よね。ロアに汚染された町、ロアの痕跡を残すたち、どちらにせよ汚らしいし、きれいに掃除していくのも私の自由。それにここで思いっきり今までずっと気に食わなかった女を八つ咲きにするのも 心底楽しそうじゃない。
A brawl is surely brewing. And begin!
Well, here we go. The battle begins faster than I can even blink. The avatar in white kicks the ground, propelling herself into the air. As though anticipating her move, a hail of swords comes raining down on her. The battle between the two figures commences before I can so much as try to stop it.
遠野くん下がって。
Oh, it changes perspective and everything. Alright, Shiki, you better sit on that fountain and get you some popcorn, buddy, because we are here for a show. Ciel leaps to the side, issuing a warning over her shoulder to Shiki as she does. White claws rip through the space where she once stood. Arcueid closed the gap between them with a single stride, raised her arm high in the air, and then swung it down with the full force of her body behind it.
決まりね。遊びましょう、シエル。
The avatar in white calls out to her sworn enemy in a voice brimming with elation. Perhaps the thrill of the unfolding battle prevailed over the shame of having her onslaught avoided. Ciel is too busy running through possible outcomes in her head to pay attention to Arcueid's voice. It's clear that this is already a worst-case scenario. Her foe is a true ancestor, a crazed and uninhabited one at that. Their battleground is right in the heart of the city, and the only weapons she has at her disposal are her black keys. Where's that power bunker at? Did you leave it at the school? If she wants to engage Arcueid while protecting the innocent bystanders, in this case Shiki, there's only one thing left to do. She needs to stay on the defensive, be on the lookout for an ebb in the flow of Arcueid's power, and take the advantage of that opening by throwing up the largest barrier she can muster and retreating with Shiki in tow. It's a simple tactic. Even so, Ciel knows just how difficult it will be to pull off, not on a simple theoretical level, but from her own painful lived experience. Her pursuer is bearing down on her at breakneck speed. She hurls a throwing blade in front of her to try and skewer Arcueid's torso. These blades are known as black keys, tools of Inquisition reserved exclusively for executors. When inactive, they consist of nothing more than a handle, but by administering a sacrament, their blade can be revealed, allowing them to function as a sword. Though they look like swords, black keys are used more for thrusting and throwing. In other words, they aren't used to slash a vampire so much as shoot them from a distance, like bullets. If Executor Ciel is precise with how she uses them, she can pack the same punch as a cannonball. She has preternatural control over her body. Each throw is accurate down to the millimeter, with every motion flowing seamlessly into the next. By gathering all of her power and focusing on a single point, she's capable of amplifying the Black Keys' might tenfold. She hasn't achieved this through magecraft or sacraments, but by elevating the movement of her body to an art form. The pinnacle of human potential, fanatically refined over the course of untold centuries. An iron blow that can blast right through even a concrete wall. The burial agency refers to it as the plating effect. However, even that is torn to shreds by a single swing of Arcueid's claws. Every single one of the black keys loosed at Arcueid has been planted. Weathering the storm of blades as if it were nothing more than a stiff breeze, the vampire closes in on the Executor with a smile on her face. Arcueid has effortlessly reduced the distance Ciel put between them to nothing. Her claws come raking down through the air. Ciel manages to use one of her black keys as a shield, but it shatters on impact, sending shockwaves rippling through her arm and into her ribs. Instead of trying to hold her ground, she leaps away, allowing the momentum of the strike to carry her backwards. The handles of another 6 black keys appear in her hands. In the blink of an eye, she widens the gap between them to 10 meters and lets off another volley.
私が言うのもなんだけど、そんな年代物いつまで使ってるのよ、あなたたちは。ほら、もっとこう面白そうな。
Like... fire. Just as Arcueid said, the Black Keys are a dated weapon with close to 1700 years of history behind them. There aren't as many executors who choose to use them these days, on account of how difficult they are to wield, and their inferiority when compared to modern weapons. Though, they're only inferior in the hands of an ordinary executor. Mock not the weapons of yore. In the 1,000-year-long history of the Black Keys, all manner of specialized versions have been developed. This is one such variant, the cremation rite, a wall of flame that burns at 500 degrees Celsius, capable of producing any foul living corpse to ashes. Of course, such flames would never be enough to stop this vampire. They're nothing more than a smokescreen. Ciel's true aim here is ultimately to restrain her. A direct assault with Black Keys wouldn't be effective, but there's a chance for Ciel to come out ahead by binding her with a barrier. The Black Keys raining down on Arcueid are swept away. Ciel's barrier is a pseudo-temple constructed around the Black Keys she has driven into the ground. While the barrier is strong enough to form a wall against Arcueid, Ciel still needs to trap her inside those walls if they're to have any effect. The Avatar in white snicks through the descending onslaught of blades like a majestic beast racing through the wilderness and pounces at the Executor. Ciel takes the brunt of Arcueid's assault head-on. She was more than capable of dodging it, but under these conditions she couldn't make that choice. She's already been driven back to the edge of the park. Retreating any further would mean bringing the fight to the city proper. Ciel raises her physical defenses in order to withstand the fierce assault. Her muscles are straining fit to burst. In order to strike a decisive blow, she tightly winds up her body like a spring. Then as she spits out an incendiary expletive. She spins around, funneling all her momentum into a roundhouse kick that lands squarely on Arcueid's chest. The pale figure is sent flying backwards, 3 Black Keys hurtling after it to deliver the finishing blow. They're up against the wall. The Tower of Imprisonment. It's an anti-true ancestor, no, anti-Arcueid confinement barrier devised by Executor Ciel. Damn, she prepared for this shit. It's impossible to fence in Arcueid by just driving some Black Keys under the ground and trying to surround her with a wall. To snare a fleet-footed quarry like her, you must corner her in all 3 dimensions. One way of doing it would be to utilize the towering walls of the temple as a foundation to create an even stronger barrier and gain complete control over the horizontal and vertical axes at the same time. Though it isn't capable of harming its target, it is so strong that nothing alive could even think of destroying it. After all, that Tower of Light is about as durable as the Strasbourg Cathedral. This very building this sacrament was modeled on, renowned for having the tallest spire of the Middle Ages. It's a 140-meter tall behemoth built of solid stone and prayer, capable of containing even the most rampant vampire.
聖典を持ち出す必要はありません。ことはすでに終わっていますから。
The countless pillars thrust into the ground link up. The lines between them form layers upon layers of walls, all of which coalesce to form a single box.
グローブの時のそれはゴチックフォート、ある祖から奪い取った原理を用いた結界です。本来は外界との遮断に用いますが、使い方によっては最大の武器にもなる。ところでアルクエイド、魔術世界における生命の質量定義は知っていますね。生命そのものが持つエネルギー生産量、もしくは質量を段階として定義したものです。その基準はシンプルで、大きさと重さとで測られます。一番強いものが小さくて重いもの、2番目に強いものが大きくて重いもの、3番目が小さくて軽いもの、これは人間ですね。そして最後に大きくて軽いもの、これは情報や噂話、幽霊といった広範囲に広がるものです。シエル、あなた。私の大聖堂は最大直径 30km の隔絶空間。生命ではありませんが、大きくて重いものです。これを極限まで圧縮すればどうなるか、試してみるのも一興だと思いませんか。いくら凶暴なあなたでも抜け出すにはそれなりの時間が必要になる。少なくとも1時間は超高密度の監獄を味わってもらいましょう。イデアブラッド22番、クロムクレイペタストラクチャ。
The executor raises her arm. She completes the construction of the Cathedral of Light and compresses the space as though slamming down the lid of a treasure chest. Or rather, she tried to. Damn! She broke through? An invisible blow, together with a raging torrent of blue, sends Ciel flying backwards. The tower that had bound Arcueid has been ruthlessly obliterated, and the pillars of light dotted across the ground have all been swept away.
何よそれ。閉じ込めるとか封じ込めるとか、周りを守ることばっかり。これは私との遊びでしょ。ならもっと本気になりなさいよね。
Arcueid starts walking toward her nemesis, as if intent on stamping out the source of her frustration. The vampire disparaged Ciel and demanded she stop holding back. Except, she's misunderstood completely. The executor wasn't holding back. She'd literally given it everything she had, though sadly her currently limited arsenal meant that wasn't as much as she might have hoped. Besides, when fighting a true ancestor, or more specifically Arcueid, the only option is to take the defensive. Due to a peculiarity of hers, fighting her aggressively will only ever lead to the attacker's death. In order to actually stand a chance against Arcueid, a weapon that can kill her with a single strike is required. That's what Ciel believes at any rate. Right now, she doesn't possess such a weapon. On top of that, her foe's behavior is staggeringly unusual. All that awaits her now is torture, followed by death. Even with this fate staring her in the eye, it isn't the fear of death that fills her heart.
こんなことって。
The single strike she took was enough for most of her organs to start shutting down. Even as the excruciating pain threatens to knock her unconscious, the executor continues to stare at the approaching vampiress.
信じられない。あのバカ。本当に自分の感情で力を使っていませんか。
That face. I'm telling you, these facial expressions, they say more than words could ever. To Ciel, who has exterminated countless dead apostles, and even vanquished Flav, that is the most unthinkable outcome of all, one she desperately wishes were nothing more than a bad dream. Holy shit. Ciel might be fucked.
遠野くん、下がって。
Senpai calls out to me even as she's busy avoiding Arcueid's tempestuous charge. She leapt back toward one of the corners of the park. It's clear she's trying to build some distance to let me escape. Their battle defies human comprehension. My eyes can't even keep up with Arcueid's movements. All I see is a white afterimage streaking through the darkness. Ciel Senpai continues fending off Arcueid's ferocious assault. Senpai and Arcueid are, in all respects, polar opposites of each other. Arcueid is a total maverick, while Senpai deals with things methodically, with no wasted movement. She keeps her distance, throwing blades at Arcueid from afar, only hunkering down to stand her ground whenever Arcueid gets too close. Their combat abilities are evenly matched. The wild and free Arcueid versus the stoic and pragmatic Ciel Senpai. Despite that, Senpai is at a disadvantage in this battle. She can't act as freely because she's trying to keep collateral damage to a minimum, but more importantly, Arcueid isn't showing any signs of fatigue. In fact, it's almost like she doesn't have any limits at all. However masterful Senpai's abilities may be, they aren't getting any stronger than they already are. Arcueid's fervor, on the other hand, continues to increase with no end in sight. If this keeps up, she's going to overwhelm Senpai's defenses any second. My terrible premonition has become reality. The battle is over. The wall of light that bound Arcueid has been shattered, and as it fell, Ciel Senpai was knocked back, struck by some invisible blow. Senpai's body sails through the air before crashing to the ground like a discarded sack of garbage. Senpai stands up, gritting her teeth against the agonizing pain. Her show of resistance is futile. The invisible object strikes her again, sending her flying even higher into the air before she comes crashing down to the ground. The crunching of flesh and bone can be plainly heard. Her red blood begins to slowly spread across the brickwork pavement of the park. And yet, Senpai is somehow still conscious. She forces her mangled body to stand, attempting to confront the enemy before her. Pathetic. Arcueid nonchalantly approaches Senpai, blue sparks crackling across her body. Her eyes are fixated squarely on Senpai's neck. I can't speak. Of course I can't. I can't think rationally. But so what if I can't? Arcueid's going to kill Senpai in cold blood. That's one thing I'll never allow. I'm not going to just sit back and watch this insanity unfold. I run like a bat out of hell. I plant myself between the two of them and take up a protective stance in front of Senpai.
Shiki!
The sparks flickering around Arcueid disappear in the blink of an eye, and she's back to her usual self. Is she really that shocked to see me protecting Senpai?
なんで？どうしてシキがそいつをかばうの？
なんでも何もない。言っただろ。先輩は俺にとって大事な人だ。いくらお前でもこれ以上先輩に手を挙げたら許さないからな。
So if we didn't say that Senpai is precious to me, would she have just stood there doing nothing? Huh. I glare at Arcueid, my hand gripped tight around the knife in my pocket.
そう。そいつと仲良くなってたらどうなるかって私も言ったはずだけど。
There's a bloodthirsty look in Arcueid's eyes.
どいて。今ならまだ許してあげる。早くそんな奴をかばうのはやめて。私にそのナイフを向けないで。
Her red eyes flicker like the flame of a candle. Her bloodlust is being redirected away from Senpai onto me. My throat dries up immediately, and my mouth feels like sandpaper. My instincts are screaming at me that if I don't back down now, I'll be past the point of no return. But even so...
ダメだ。お前が先輩に手を挙げないと言うまでどかない。
聞きたくない。どいて式。
お前こそ引けアルクエイド。お前は俺に言ったじゃないか、人間は殺さないって。それともあれは俺を安心させるための嘘だっていうのか。
ええ、私は人間は殺さない。けど人間の規格を大きく外れた命には敬意を表してる。だから対等の存在として殺すことも厭わないわ。
Yeah, so she knows she's not entirely human.
例えばあなたよ、そこの女みたいな相手にはね。
One step forward. Arcueid draws nearer. I somehow managed to stand my ground despite wanting nothing more than to turn tail and flee.
そう、あなたはまた私にナイフを向けるんだ。
Another step. Arcueid nonchalantly closes in on me.
一度目は許した。けれど二度目を許せる自信はないわ。もっともあの時の再現はありえないけど、いくらあなたの直視の目でも今の私から死を読み取ることはできないでしょう。
We're face to face now. Oh shit, her eyes. Her golden eyes dig deep into my own. The tension is so intense that it feels like not just my heart, but every cell in my body has come to a screeching halt. Like my spine is being ripped clean out of my back. As if my organs are being shredded from within. It's an utterly overwhelming feeling of despair, as though every other creature in creation is gathered around to glower at me. What I felt facing Vav was absolutely nothing in comparison. I can't do anything. This is what it means to have Arcueid as my enemy. Our inborn nature is, and has always been, irreconcilably different. Attacking her head-on would be worse than useless. If I want to save Senpai, if I want both of us to make it out of here alive, I have no choice but to stop her with words. Oh shit, here we go. I'll respond by saying, if you go any further, I won't like you anymore. Nothing saying the wrong thing would only make things worse. Well obviously say first. The red light coming from the options definitely makes it seem more like it's a life or death choice. And I think that first one sounds very whack. I don't think that's gonna stop her here. So I'm just gonna say, for the first thing, maybe I'm wrong, but let's go with 2. I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Arcueid's close enough to kill me now. All it would take is a single sweep from her arm to send my head flying, even though I can see how this will end. I stand my ground and resolutely stare back at her. Arcueid is a vampire. She has a fundamentally different set of values to the rest of us. There's no way we could ever coexist peacefully. That's what people would have me believe at least. But, even so, I refuse to let things end like this.
なんで俺には分からない。どうして先輩にだけお前はそんなにひどいやつになっちまうんだ。そりゃ何もかもめちゃくちゃなやつだったけど、気に食わないから殺すとかそんなこと口にするやつじゃなかっただろ。
シキ。
Arcueid comes to a stop. I guess my words finally got through to her. The murderous look in her eyes has softened lightly. If we can talk things out, maybe we can actually stand a chance of salvaging the situation.
ダメ。逃げて遠のく。
先輩
It happened in the blink of an eye. Despite being so injured she couldn't even stand a second ago, Senpai's placed herself between Arcueid and me.
生命力だけはさすがね。でもそれでどうするの？さっきの大魔術で魔力は空っぽのくせに。今のあなたじゃシキの盾にもならない。シキが無茶をしている間に逃げればよかったのに。あなたこそそんな気もないくせに笑わせないでください。私が背中を見せれば喜んでとどめを刺す気だったでしょう。でも おあいにくさまでしたね。私はまだ戦えます。だって彼を、無関係な人々を守るのは私の役目なんですから。
先輩。
She can't even breathe properly. Her habit is soaked with her own blood, but she's still putting on a brave face and fiercely trying to protect me.
あなたも下がってください。ここは私が。
もう下がるのは先輩の方だ。いいから休んでろ。ここは俺が何とかするから。でもありがとう。大好きです先輩。
I swiftly move in front of her. I feel like I'm invincible right now. Even if Arcueid flies off the handle again, I won't yield. Why is that? Because I'm doing something so stupid that even I'm starting to doubt my insanity.
待ってください。無理ですから。
She's just watching
トノ
all
君じゃ
this.
アルクエイドに殺されちゃいます。ここを何とかするのは私の方ですよ。
そんな傷で何言ってるんですか。いいから下がって。ほら、ここで意地を張るのは俺の役目です。たまには先輩を守らせてください。
守るってでも。
I grab Senpai's shoulders while she grabs mine, and then we start taking turns moving each other out of the way. After a couple of revolutions, I start to forget why we're even doing this, and it feels more like we're dancing. It's kind of fun. But she's pissed. A certain someone is watching us and trembling in anger.
何よバカ。もういい。式なんて知らない。そんなにシエルが大事なら勝手にすれば。私もう助けてあげないから。
アルクエイド。
So that's
い
it?
い、私帰る。言っておくけど、その女はあなたが思っているような真っ当な人間じゃないから。利用されて絞り取られて薄皮一枚にまでなればいいわ。
Arcueid finishes her outburst and turns away in a huff.
なんだよそれ。お前だってさっき物騒なこと言ってたじゃないか。俺を自分のものにするとかなんとか。
私は隠し事はしないもん。式が好きって言っただけよ。じゃあね、後で私に泣きついても聞いてあげないから。せいぜい血を吸われないよう気をつけることね。
Arcueid soars out of the park like some sort of indignant shooting star. Damn. That struck a chord, didn't it, Ciel? Shooting called you a vampire. Could you believe that? My mind can't keep up with all these absurd developments. Even after Arcueid has vanished into the night sky, Senpai and I keep staring up at it in blank astonishment.
星になってしまいましたね、彼女。
星というよりロケットっぽかったですけど。
We quietly exchange our impressions of Arcueid's launch.
そうじゃなくて、なんて無茶をするんですか、遠野くんは。神祖と戦おうとするなんて自殺願望にも程があります。
Senpai grabs me by the shoulders and begins scolding me. She's absolutely right. I have nothing to say in my defense.
そうでしたね。今でも背中すげえ冷たいです。あいつやるときはほんと用じゃないから。先輩が割って入ってくれなかったら首が飛んでました。
そこまで分かっていてどうして。
だって先輩を放っておけないし。改めてありがとうございます、先輩。俺のために戦ってくれたのぐらいわかります。
はい。お礼を言うなら私もでした。遠野くんがいなかったらどうなっていたかわからなかったです。
Senpai replies with their eyes fixed on the floor. I don't know why, but I'm at a loss for words. Before I know it, our bodies are so close that they're almost touching, and Senpai's faint warmth is making me all jittery.
先ほどは意地を張ってごめんなさい。遠野くんを困らせるつもりじゃなかったんです。
さっきのってアルクエイドのこと？
そうじゃなくて、お屋敷から公園までのこととか、昼間の茶道室のこととか。
No, that's something I should be apologizing for. Though, if I said that out loud, it'd probably only make her feel even worse. If Senpai wants to apologize, the best thing I can do is let her. Plus, if this gives me a chance to patch things up with Senpai, then I couldn't be happier.
そうですね。じゃあ喧嘩両成敗ってことで仲直りしてください。明日になったら先輩に無視されるとか考えるだけで怖いですから。
そうですか。そんなことでいいなら。
There we
喜ん
go.
で。
Nice. Senpai spends a moment fidgeting in embarrassment before putting her glasses back on, having pulled them out from who knows where.
それより先輩、体は大丈夫ですか？
I take a step backward to get a clearer view of Senpai's body. She was gushing blood all over the place just a few minutes ago. I need to treat her wounds immediately or else.
あれ？
The bloodstains have disappeared. Not only has the pool of blood on the floor vanished without a trace, but there isn't so much as a red tint to be found anywhere on her clothes.
遠野くん、これは。
そっか。先輩はあれぐらいの傷なんともないんでしたっけ？ブローブの時なんてもっと深い傷を受けてたし、並大抵のことならあいつみたいにすぐに治って。
I'm such a fool. Now that the threat of death is gone, I let myself get careless. Because of that, I inadvertently touched on an inconvenient truth that I'd been unconsciously trying to avoid. Yeah, sucks to be you, now that you let that slip. It's like she's a vampire. After all, she's a perfect immortal. She's not the prim and proper human you think she is. You'd better watch out in case she tries to suck your blood. I banished those haunting words to the deepest recesses of my mind. Nevertheless, the fact that I've gone silent speaks volumes.
いや、でもあれだよな。アルクイドのやつもデタラメなことばっかり言うよな。先輩が俺の血を吸うなんて、そんなこと絶対にありえないのに。
Right, not in a million years. I mean, come on, Senpai can walk around in broad daylight. Okay, sure, Arcueid can too, but even she's weaker during the day. Senpai's just as strong during the day as she is at night. Besides, she's a member of the church. It would be contradictory for an organization that exterminates vampires to harbor vampires in its midst.
取り繕わないでいいです。
She's
私の
admitting.
体のこと、ノエル先生から聞いたんですね。
Well, there goes that. I can't bring myself to admit it. Not because I'm trying to avoid hurting Ciel Senpai, but for purely selfish reasons. I just don't want to face that reality.
ノエル先生のおかげで目が覚めました。質問の続きです。遠野くん、どうして私をかばったんですか？アルクエイドが本気であなたを殺すつもりだったのは分かっていたはずなのに。
There isn't even a speck of emotion in Senpai's eyes. They're the hollow, lifeless eyes of a doll. It's like they don't even see me.
どうしてって、さっきも言ったでしょ。先輩が殺されかけたんです。誰だってかばいます。
I don't know, against someone like her, that kind of sounds too much to ask for.
自分が殺されるというのに、献身とは自分の命を投げ出すことではありません。自分の命をないがしろにして他者の命を救おうというのは、献身でも犠牲でもなく、ただの自己愛です。あなたは、ただ自分が後悔したくなかっただけ。 それだけであんな真似をして満足しています。はっきり言ってすごく迷惑です。正しく生きようとするのは立派ですが、あなたの身勝手な正しさに私を巻き込まないでください。
Damn, not pulling back any punches, I say.
それは
I can't argue with her assessment. She's right. I didn't think it through. I was so preoccupied with wanting to save her that I didn't spare a thought toward how to save her, or how to deal with Arcueid. I switched off my brain and acted in whatever way served my own interests. If that warrants being called narcissistic, so be it. However,
それでも先輩を守りたかったんです。それが迷惑だって言うんですか。先輩はあのままアルクエイドに殺されていてもよかったって。
I mean, you would have patched yourself up regardless.
はい、私の命なんですから、あなたにどうこう言われるものではないはずです。いえ、死んだ方がまだマシでした。吸血鬼にお情けで見逃されて生き延びるなんて無様すぎます。
Disgraceful? I wish she had killed me? That's a fucked up thing to say under any circumstances.
自分の命を何だと思ってるんですか、先輩は。死んだらそれまでなんですよ。どんなにひどくてどんなにみっともないことをしてでも生きていられるのなら生きるべきです。だって生きていなくちゃ何もないじゃないですか。無様だから何だって言うんです。どんなに情けなくても何もなくなるよりずっと何倍もいい。俺は先輩を守りたかった。死んでほしくなかった。先輩と一緒にまた茶道室にいたかったんです。
I know that I should be trying to calm down, but my emotions have burst their banks and are all rushing out at once. Even though we just managed to make up, here I am yelling at Senpai again.
そうでしたね。あなたは7年前に一度死にかけた人でした。だからそんな単純な考えで満足できるんです。幸せな人。そんな言葉、私には言えません。
Senpai draws away, her eyes still hollow and lifeless. We're close enough that I could reach out and touch her if I tried, but she feels so incredibly far away.
アルクエイドが言っていたことは本当です。彼女の言う通り、私は人間とは呼べません。遠野くんも見たでしょ。さっきまであんなにこぼれていた血が、まるでなかったことのように消え去っているのを。
それは。
いいんです。私、化け物なんです。私は吸血種ではありませんが、普通の人間らしい体ではないのも事実ですから。
何言ってるんですか、先輩。人間らしい体って先輩は十分普通じゃないか。
Come on, Shiki, don't you remember Alko's words? Come on, dude.
これでもですか。
先輩。
Whoa. I don't even get a chance to stop her. She uses one of her own blades to slice through her neck. I hear a dull crunch as the blade rips through her flesh and arteries. Splash. The eruption of vibrant crimson seeps into my eyeballs. My god. It spurts out like a fountain. Its iron tang tantamount to the smell of life itself. A dazzling flood of pure red. It's beautiful. Her fresh blood is all I can see or think about as it pours down and stains her dark habit. And I'm sure that beneath her habit, red blood is trickling down her naked body, coiling itself around her like a serpent, its hue intensifying all the while. A drop of blood flecks my fingers. At that, my enthralled mind snaps back to reality. Before me stands Senpai, drenched in blood.
Senpai!
I rush over to her, wiping the blood from my fingers.
慌てる必要はありません。ほら、 見てください。
She removes the blade from the base of her pale neck. All better. The wound has already closed. As if that wasn't enough, all the blood she just shed disappeared completely. This equals, no, surpasses Vla's ability to regenerate, an utterly unnatural spectacle that transcends the notion of healing altogether. I'm speechless. I have no idea what I should say to Senpai after bearing witness to such a phenomenon.
はい、この通りです。できることなら遠野くんには知られたくなかったですけど。
Senpai gives me a forlorn smile. Even when confronted by that smile, I still can't find the right words to say to her right now.
だから昼間のことは謝らなくていいんです。全部正しかったんですから。私はあなたのことを騙していました。あんな風に怒られてもそれは仕方のないことなんです。
そんなことは。
Why can't I bring myself to finish that sentence? It doesn't matter to me what kind of person Senpai is, or what kind of body she has. It wouldn't even matter if she actually was a vampire. Something like that would never be enough to change the fact that I care deeply for her.
本当はもっと距離を取る予定だったんです。ただの顔見知りとかそれぐらいの。そうすればあなたの方から話しかけてくることもこんな風に嫌われることもなかった。けどいいんです。今までのことを後悔はしていません。遠野くんが私との思い出が楽しかったって守りたかったと言ってくれて嬉しかった。
先輩。
I mean, I said that for a reason. The time we spent together was so peaceful and calm that I really did wish it could go on forever.
さようなら。
She just vanishes? Jesus. What a wild turn of events. Senpai vanishes into the night, her familiar smile on her face all the way to the end. She really is the polar opposite of Arcueid. Arcueid soared away like a shooting star, but Senpai left no such trail behind her as she disappeared into the night. My head is reeling from everything that just happened. I don't even know how I'd go about chasing after Senpai. Arcueid said that Senpai was a vampire, and Senpai didn't even deny it. On the contrary, she left me with almost undeniable proof before she disappeared. I wish she just lied. Even a blatant lie would have been fine. I would have been content if she'd simply said it wasn't true. Farewell. It's obvious what she meant by that. Even though I knew about her true identity, even though I'd heard her before, Senpai still came to see me. But now, that too is over. She said it abruptly, without fanfare, but I lost everything the moment that word left her lips. I can't think straight. What did I lose? What is it that's causing me so much anguish? The story about a girl I heard from Noelle? Arcueid's accusations? The wound on her neck that proved them right? Or was it something else? That damn headache. My head hurts. Self-loathing clogs my lungs like mud. I feel like I'm going to be sick. I am beset by the strange sense that plants are sprouting inside my brain. It hurts so much that I can't even think. I don't want to dwell on the bitter truth that I'll never see Senpai ever again. With clouded thoughts and unsteady footsteps, I too leave the park. Shit. That was crazy. The fight, the fucking Ciel not even denying the fact that she's a vampire, like, Jesus, and the way that it was disclosed, like, so quick, you know, like, Jesus, throb. 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 Let me guess, the next word is going to be... Ah, okay, that's not what I expected. I'm so tired. I guess no book time tonight. My budding headache has sprouted into a thicket of thorns. My wooden brain creaks and groans as I constrain it. I flop lifelessly onto the bed. An ominous darkness creeps up on me from behind. The faces that appear in my mind are the same ones I saw this morning. I use my last remaining ounce of consciousness to close my eyes. I don't want to think anymore right now. Just sleep like a statue. Shit, what a chapter. God damn. Oh, now we're here. Recently, I've been dreaming of my former self. I assume this is the vampire lurking in Ciel or whatever that may be. They say humans reminisce more and more as they grow older. It seems I'm no exception. Techniques I will use hereafter, and those that I will not. Things that I will need, and those I will not. My present self, and my future self. In order to organize all this, I leave old things behind in my workshop, as though writing a memoir that will never be read. For all humans discard their past selves. I'm currently on the verge of death. To be more precise, I have about a week left to live. The Avatar in White will soon arrive. When she does, my current life will end. I have no strong feelings about this fact. Humans die. This is the one fate which cannot be avoided. If there's one thing I do fear, it's the feeling I experience as I wake, the sensation of crawling out of an unending darkness. No matter how many times I experience it, it remains the sole discomfort that I can never get used to. As I wallow in the past, I also plot a course for the future. This me has been a failure. The body I was born into is weak, and so I ended up distracted by research into how to prolong its lifespan. While that did bear some fruit in the agelessness I came across, the overall result was a failure. As suspected, the physical body cannot be endowed with eternal youth. Where shall I focus my attention next? I've left a great number of research topics half finished. The agelessness I investigated this time proved to be more akin to retrogression, perhaps even outright deterioration. Perhaps my next topic should be succession instead. By blending the genes of two fit genic contributors, humans give birth to children bearing yet fitter features. Could this not be performed more directly and efficiently? Take, for example, dead apostles. They can impart their underlings with undeath, but they cannot pass on their own abilities. No, dead apostles cannot pass on anything. They are deprived of their reproductive capacity by their very nature. Although they are no strangers to lust and sexual desire, they cannot birth children. Since they have obtained unnaturally long lifespans as individual specimens, they have lost the necessity for any reproductive function. In Dead Apostle Society, family is used to indicate one's carefully acquired underlings. Those that Dead Apostles of rank 6 and above treat as their sons or daughters were once humans, adopted for their talents and later turned into Dead Apostles when the time was right. There are clans that are related by blood in the real sense, but that's only because they were related back when they were still alive. One such example is Lord Roseanne, a man who became a vampire together with his beloved daughters. He represents the last hope for all aristocratic rule. His faction is said to be one of the largest Dead Apostle Society, and his successes, together with his comfortable lifestyle, are enough to make even his fellow ancestors envious. Yet despite that, Lord Roseanne's greatest source of distress is that he will never be able to see the faces of his grandchildren. Dead Apostles cannot give birth to children. Dead Apostles cannot pass on their abilities. They cannot propagate their own genes. They are beings who possess a fatal flaw. This is the biggest reason as to why they, who are otherwise too superior to humans, do not count as paragons. In short, dead apostles cannot birth dead apostle children. The dead apostle curse, which is the case of an ancestor can oppose even the world itself, disappears if the individual possessing it perishes. And that is far from perfect. As such, it is a problem I ought to tackle. My next topic is decided. I shall develop the ability to succeed to the curses possessed by the 27 dead apostle ancestors. Naturally, principles are one of a kind. They cannot be imitated, and duplicating them would only serve to weaken them by destroying that uniqueness. This is why succession is the only answer. I shall devise a technique to make the whole principles one own, to detune it and reconfigure it for one's own use. 15. The succession of all curses and dues, and their usage. Alternatively, the forced transfer of one's own abilities and fortuity. I label the efficacies of my next self. To kill, to steal, to misappropriate. Yes, murder shall serve as its foundation. In human terms, this could be thought of in terms of an inheritance. Putting it into words is quite tasteless, but whatever form an inheritance may take, it still necessitates the death of its previous owner. Expressing it as an inheritance really is quite appropriate if I do say so myself. There is a little joy to be found in receiving an inheritance from one's parents. The majority of them tend to be to their ears in debt. Will my next self be in possession of a body strong enough to bear such dues? Oh, the stars are falling. The avatar in white has departed. My torso is gone. My limbs have turned to ash. All that remains of me is my brain, and in a few seconds, it too will be nothing but cinders. Teetering on the precipice of death, I once again ask myself a question. Are you not afraid? Naturally, I am not. I am merely regretful. I sought perfection. An old friend who had remained with the church once asked what perfection meant to me. To them, perfection had been a word used to represent the omnipotent and omniscient Father. Of course it would. Such was the doctrine would be followed. The church had fabricated permanence, and by propagating it, proved its omnipotence. Even though they know that the world keeps expanding, they still insist that the universe, God, is permanently fixed. But that's wrong. Completely wrong. Such permanence is woefully outdated. To advance our knowledge and awareness will always be humans living in the present. What value is there in omnipotence of the past? Perfection cannot be something that exists. It has to be a place for us to reach. Humanity's destination, humanity's conclusion. The meaning of my soul, the answer to what it is we must accomplish. I want to arrive at that conclusion. That is the state of true permanence, one onto which nothing can be added, and from which nothing can be taken away. Ergo, the sole thing upon this earth that could be referred to as eternal. The vampires known as the ancestors seek eternity itself. I, however, seek the means of reaching eternity. It's only natural that they hold my heresy in contempt. We are, after all, fundamentally different beings. My voyage is not misguided, this I know, even if my methods themselves may be. Yet, those words are nothing but a scream into the void. The theologian I had been died when I reached the castle surrounded by the flowers of the planet in full bloom. Eternity was already there. Nay, something I wanted to retain for eternity was there. It doesn't matter how many times I depart this world. The hatred and joy I feel each time is still strong enough to tear me to shreds. Back then, I weighed knowing all of the world against knowing her. In that instant, the theologian within me died. So take heed, my friend. and carve this warning deep into your soul. There is no greater sin than turning a human's gaze upon the luminary of the planet. Once everything has come and gone, you will surely understand what it is you have fallen in love with. Okay, that's quite ominous.